Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Monday, the 12th day of June, 2023. Well, I've started this a few times, but I get these weird glitchy things going on, and I literally went through all of it. Drawn the cards, the runes, all of it, and I clicked on it, but it wasn't going, so that's lovely. So we'll start over again here. Um, but I'm going to keep the runes and the cards because my head's already there, so I don't know. Anyway, sometimes that happens here, especially on a Monday. I don't do Mondays well. Anyway, we're looking at Thurzaz as today's rune. This is Thor's rune. It represents Thor's hammer. It's protection. It's chaos. It's giants. It's what opposes us. It's dealing with a lack of impulse control, controlling impulsivity. So there might be a little bit of that going on today. And then we have Fortuna Minor, which is a progressive type of a success. It also means seeking outer assistance. And so it's not something where you can do something and have the windfall at the end of it, or the success at the end of it. This is the steps along the way that take you there. And so I think what this has to do with Thurzaz, especially looking at the cards here, it's in order to have that type of success, to be able to progress onward in whatever it is you're doing here, if it's a project or something, at home or at work or what have you. You're going to have to control your impulses today and over the next few days. And one way to do that is with the Hermit. This is the 9th card of the Major Arcana. The Hermit stands above on the mountaintop on the snowy peak with a staff in one hand and a lantern in the other with a Merkaba. You can see if you look very, very closely there, the light that's emitting is coming from a Merkaba. Now, a Merkaba is a soul vehicle. So what he's doing is he's getting up above everything, retreating from the chaos of life, basically, and getting up above it all and gaining higher awareness, and then expressing that higher awareness outward to everything below. So it's to gain some wisdom, it's to gain some understanding, and I think at this point it has to do with Thurzaz and how much impulse control you're able to have. Sometimes we make decisions very hastily. Sometimes we speak when we shouldn't. Sometimes we act when we shouldn't. And so that's kind of the energy, that's kind of the feeling I'm getting here. And that if we don't control that, if we don't stay on task, if we get sidetracked, for example, that's another way, excuse me, then it's not going to be so easy to see the progression, to see things work out. You could be causing your own issues, in other words, today, if you're not staying the course and staying on track and not letting, impulsivity steer you in another direction. Because then by the time you get back, it's like, well, there's no time to do this now. I've gone there and now I needed to be here. It's that kind of an experience. And so with the Hermit, we actually, I'll back up, we actually have one card here from the Major Arcana, one from the Minor, and one from the Court. And even though the Court's technically part of the Minor Arcana, it's kind of in its own grouping. And we have one from each. So again, we have the Hermit, who is the 9 is about spirituality. It's also about generosity. It's about endings, something else coming to an end. And again, maybe that's the lack of impulse control that's keeping you from progressing forward, and being able to meet that whole progression that you need to do each step along the way. You set a goal for the day, and again, you get sidetracked and you can't achieve the goal because there's no time. And then we have the 7, which actually we have a 7 numerology for all 3 cards here. This is an interesting card. We've talked about this a lot, and we've had it several times recently, in the last couple months. And the interesting thing about this card, I've always said I look at this 2 different ways. It can either be about being unrealistic and having your head in the clouds and not really, what you're wasting some time here, or or it's dreaming new dreams, because I don't know, I don't know what the ultimate outcome of something like this is going to be. But when you have sketchy brown clouds, or sketchy gray clouds, dark gray clouds, you're there's something that's clouding your vision, basically, and it's wasting time or thinking about things that are not going to come to be. It's literally having your head in the clouds and having unrealistic thoughts here. Emotionally drawn to it, basically, given that it's the suit of cups, and cups represents the water element. So, and that's our emotions, and it's also movement and adaptation and change, and all of that is governed by the water element. But here, it's maybe just being unrealistic. You see all 7 cups with different things in them. You see a woman here, so the man in the silhouette could be dreaming about a woman, because it's also water elements, also about the dream state. You see a hat here, which reminds me of Napoleon's hat, so maybe having some authority. Here you see a serpent, and I'm not really sure. It could be, it's sort of pointing toward the hat, and so there's some really powerful serpent energy involved in authoritarianism, isn't there? You've got a big castle upon the hill here. Get a little closer. You see some jewels here. You see a wreath here. There's some success. There's some victory. And here's a dragon, just thrown in for good measure. But again, it's that serpent energy, that fire energy that is about power and control and all of that. So maybe the dreams are due to a loss of control, like he's not being able to control his life. Well, maybe that's because of lack of impulse control with Thurisaz. With Thurisaz is suggesting that if you want to get somewhere, you've got to control the impulses within and make better decisions and all of that. And so I think that with the hermit getting away from it all, he's trying to get above all of that and to say, look, in fact, we probably could have started with the 7 and went to the 9 if we wanted to do that, where you're dreaming about things, your head's in the clouds, you're not being very realistic. And in order to understand that, you've got to get up above everything and let go of all of it and retreat and withdraw, if you will, and get some higher perspective, and then be able to shine that light on whatever it is you're doing and understand, in other words, to understand the situation from that higher perspective. That's what that means. And then from there, you get to this lady, the Queen of Pentacles. She reminds me of the 9 of Pentacles, where you've got the lady in the garden, a woman of means, probably the queen, or the woman of the manor, if you will, out on a Sunday hunt. And she's in her garden, and she's got the glove on and the falcon on the glove and all that stuff. And it's just a gorgeous scene. Well, so's this. And here you have the Queen of Pentacles. She's quiet. She's ambitious. She's an older woman, of course, in authority. She's trustworthy, wise. She's kind of like the Earth Mother. She's domestic oriented. She's generous. And so the generosity of the 9 with the Hermit is also felt in the Queen of Pentacles. You see her sitting on her throne. She's got a green, it's a green cape, but it almost appears she's either got it over her head with her crown over it, or it almost looks like it's attached to the crown, doesn't it? And then what has she got up above the crown here? It looks like she's got some flowers or something up there, maybe above it there on the top. But it's like the green cape merges with the ground below. You see that a lot with the Queen. You see that in the Queen of Cups as well, where she's sitting on a gorgeous throne that's right at the water's edge. And the cape itself looks like it's got river rock as a design on it, right? And it merges into the river rock, or the whatever kind of body of water this is, the rocks that are on the edge of that, it merges into that. So there's this connectedness of the Queen with all of life around her, irrespective of which queen it is. The Queen of Swords, especially in the Thoth Tarot, shows a queen relaxing on her crystal throne in the clouds, with a sword in one hand and a severed head in another. So she's a take no prisoners kind of a person. But But at least with the water element and the pentacle, and with cups, and the earth element with pentacles, those are passive influences, and they actually match the passive influences here in Fortuna Major. So again, she might be someone that you seek advice from. If you need to, with Fortuna Major or Minor rather, you're looking at seeking outside assistance, and so to help with all of whatever the progressiveness of that, or the progression of that type of experience. I mean, it's going to lead to something successful. It's just how you get there, basically. But with this queen, she's sitting around in her garden. You see the wreaths or the garland above. It just sort of frames her into that. And you see the abundance around her. You see the mountains in the distance. I believe this may be a creek right here, some type of body of water. But she's at peace, and she's somebody that you can go to. So there could be, for advice or what have you. And so, maybe she sets the example for what it is to control your impulses, because she seems to do that. She's someone that's very easygoing. She's very compassionate and willing to help, willing to assist, willing to provide guidance if needed. So it could be that one of the ways that you get some help on keeping yourself on task today, if it's something like that, is to go to someone who, or talk to someone, especially if it's a collaborative experience that you're involved in. Maybe there's someone within that group that you're involved with that will, at work or something, your coworkers or a boss or what have you, that can help keep you, focused in the right direction, so that you can then, ultimately be successful. But I think that impulse control is reflected, a lack of impulse control, that is reflected in the 7. Because you're spending too much time getting scattered into other areas that really aren't going to yield anything. And to understand that, then you have to get above it all and see the bigger picture, and to see what you're doing. And if you need help with that, there could be an older woman, a woman in authority, or at least a woman who is someone who understands how to help and help guide and all of that. That can get you back on track. So I think that's pretty much it. That was a really simple reading. I don't think this has anything to do with what we've been the readings that have been happening over the last few weeks. I don't think it has anything to do with that. So maybe we have, put an end in, close that chapter, maybe we could say. And now we're moving into something else. But again, we all get off track. Oh, look at that. That's broken. Well, that's interesting. I can't use that one. I'll use this one. It gets warm in here, so, Anyway, I think it's easy to get off track, and I think it's easy to, get scattered. I do it all the time, and it's, if I go walking around, I'm going someplace on the property to do a certain thing, but then there's some dandelion that looks really good, and I need to pick that. I need to harvest that, and so I'll stop and I'll do that. Or there's some really nice looking plantain in the yard. I'll bend down and get that. I'll get there eventually, but it's going to be a process, and it's going to be zigging and zagging all over the place, because I might see something else. Maybe the hawthorn berries are looking good. They're not real. I think they're just starting to form right now. But say it was later in the season, I see that as like, oh my goodness, I need that, And so, because I need to make some more hawthorn tincture, or something. And so even though I know I have a destination, sometimes I have a difficult time getting there, because it's like, oh, squirrel, where'd that go, And so that's it. I wander. I just wander. I can stay really focused, but I wander, and I do. And so it makes my husband crazy if he's with me. It's like, no, let's go over there. So he's my Queen of Pentacles today. But I think it's just something we all encounter from time to time, where our focus is just scattered, and we can't stay on track. We can't stay on task. And I think that, but the lack of impulse control can seriously impact where you need to go. and how you need to get there. So that would be my suggestion today is recognize that that's going on, number one, and you may need to take a step back and get into your own space. We're outside that existing thing you're doing, and just step back and think a little bit, and get your thoughts above it all, and what would higher self tell you to do. And they're going to say, well, higher self's going to say, stay with it. Stay the course. Don't get off track here. You're not going to get anything accomplished today if you do. So that's where I think it's just a really simple reading for today, and nothing too complex to get the week started. So, well, although keeping sometimes your impulses under control can be a pretty complex thing for some people. So, especially if it's just how you are all the time, it's you don't have that memory, that sense memory of what it is to actually stay with something, because you never do. So that might be where the this reading might be talking about someone who is a little more like that maybe than others. But I think it's also helpful to remind us to stay on track today and over the next few days. So that's it. Have a good day. We'll talk again on Thursday for another edition of As Above, So Below. But until that time, be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.